The views expressed are not necessarily those of KSCJ and Powell Broadcasting Company. This program is not intended to replace the advice of doctors or other clinical providers. Consult with your practitioner to ensure the proper course of action for you.
Welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well on AM 1360, FM 94.9 KSCJ. This program is dedicated to your mental health wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency. Here's your host, Art Silva.
Good morning, and welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well. This program is dedicated to your mental wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency.
The views expressed are not necessarily those of KSCJ and Powell Broadcasting Company. This program is not intended to replace the advice of doctors or other clinical providers. Consult with your practitioner to ensure the proper course of action for you.
Welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well on AM 1360, FM 94.9 KSCJ. This program is dedicated to your mental health wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency. Here's your host, Art Silva.
Good morning, and welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well. This program is dedicated to your mental wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency. Each week, we will discuss various topics regarding your mental wellness. We hope that our help yourself approach to mental wellness will aid you to navigate the difficult times. My name is Art Silva, and with me today are my friends from Family Services, Sandy and Brenda. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to have a great discussion today, and I think our topic is timely. And we're going to talk about mental wellness and faith. Faith and mental health. Sandy, I know you've had a lot of work in this area, and we're glad that you're able to help lead us today, so we're all ears. So let's start off the show with what does faith have to do with mental health?
Faith and mental health go together for individuals or families whose faith is a central part of their lives, and that doesn't just always mean the Christian faith. We have, Jewish, Muslims in our area, and even people that are in AA and have their higher power. And so faith is very important. It's a grounding. It's a set of beliefs. It gives boundaries to our lives, and it gives knowing that knowledge that there's something higher than us, that it's not just us dealing with issues, that we have a God who intervenes. We have someone who's there walking through our difficulties with us.
Now, I know going back in time, at least from my perspective, how critical the church was in solving problems. You would go to, in my case, a priest, and you would talk about what's going on, and whether it be needing a little extra money or needing something like that or whatever, they kind of seemed to be the catch-all right there, that final place where people would go. That role has changed significantly, and now when we look at it, it's more like a self-sufficiency that you have to pull out of yourself to really get the value of that faith and it doesn't solve everything. For me, it kind of fills a tremendous gap, and it makes me feel good. So that's going around a full circle, but my belief, my faith, doesn't give me all the answers, but it gives me that hope.
I think it's been exciting in some ways as we've gone through COVID to see the way that churches of all denominations, backgrounds have really come into play in social interaction. I go to Sunnybrook, and they have opened a food pantry, and they have 2 days. They're distributing huge amounts of foods to families. They have a warehouse that started through World Vision that nonprofits can come and get things to help families. I know Heartland Baptist has it. I know Mount Zion is giving out food. So there's several churches in the community that are doing things. And I know as well nonprofits are also doing it and reaching out to people in need.
I noticed just the other day we saw the healing students were doing something with food, and I think that feeling of fulfillment, that feeling that you did something, ties into a bigger picture of doing the right thing.
Right.
And that's what we learn on Sunday. And how come that doesn't stick with us all during the week? And then I think contributes to our stress, our anxiety. For me, that 1 hour a week is the relief I need. You've been in different congregations talking about different practices and how people deal with this. What about groups?
I don't know that I have talked to many groups, but I did lead a group in one church on depression, which also was integrated with faith. I think what's important for people to understand, when you do faith-based therapy, you still use the same treatment models that we would use for somebody in a non-faith-based therapy. We still use family systems. We still use, all kinds of systems, narrative. We use for domestic violence. We use those techniques because that is what is sound therapy. The difference is you bring God into the mix. You bring a person's faith into it and their strength-based and their support through their communities.
Well, you have a nice way of summing that all up. And there's so many rewards that come from that just by the outcomes of your efforts and what you're doing that make you feel real good. Brenda, in your experience, is anything you'd like to add looking at faith-based therapy?
I think one of the things also is you may want to seek out someone who is a faith-based therapist, and it's really up to you as the client on how much of the discussion of religion you want to bring into that. Sometimes just knowing that therapist is faith-based is enough, and other times they really want to bring in the discussion of religion and spirituality and how that fits into their journey. So every client is different and what they want with faith-based. It's available, and to know that you can express yourself and be heard and have that connection. A lot of therapy is having the rapport with your therapist. And if you're seeking out someone that's a faith-based therapist, this is an option for you if you have that as a center core of your beliefs.
Well, I'm Art Silva, and with me are my friends from Family Services, Sandy and Brenda. And today we're talking about faith and mental wellness. We think it's a timely topic as we go into the Lenten season. What I'm hearing, Brenda, from what you just said is also that it doesn't exclude people. If somebody wants to come into a faith-based because of their strong beliefs, it still can be accommodated. Because sometimes you feel like I don't want to do this, I'm locked out on. Sandy, is there a stigma attached to this at all?
I don't believe so. And I get referrals from churches and from different people who are looking for a faith-based approach. They want to know that I'm going to respect their value system. I don't get into doctrinal issues. I don't talk about those type of things with people, but I talk about their resources in their church, their faith. How do they make decisions based on their spirituality? Are they feeling guilty because in some churches it's not okay to get divorced and women have roles? And how to respect that, but also help them to be safe in their system. And so, or marriage, and people are going through divorce, and that's a huge struggle. How is it accepted? And it's the same if I'm talking to a Muslim or somebody Jewish, and I don't differentiate with Catholic and Protestants at all. But I think that that's just where you meet them. And probably half of my clients' faith is not the issue in the church.
It's interesting seeing that you have the skill set to pull that together. That's unique, and that you can see it and be open-minded and look at everything strictly from that clinical perspective of what you're trying to accomplish with the client. I think when we look at therapists, going back in time, I think priests, reverends, rabbis, everybody, they've all filled that therapist role. And so when you talk about getting referrals from the church group, the church system for specific things to deal with, they're kind of telling me their hands are full too, and they're looking for help.
I think a lot of people in the church will do 3-5 sessions with people and then realize that they need to refer out. Some pastors and people within the church are very gifted They've been hospital chaplains and different things like that. They've had training. Like I went to seminary for 2 years or 3 years and did my marriage and family therapy there because I wanted that basis. And then I did my master's in social work.
We're coming up on break here. This is a great conversation looking at faith and your mental health. We'll be right back after you can get a chance to get another cup of coffee. And we're going to talk about some of the things we can do, some of the things that are out there, some of the help that we can provide in this area. So please grab that cup of coffee, and we'll be back to join you right after a short break on When Things Aren't Going Well.
Let's face it, that happens to all of us. However, the pandemic has compounded all of our lives and activities. Even the simplest tasks seem harder. Hi, I'm Brenda Geisinger, the Chief Operating Officer at the Boys and Girls Home and Family Services. Family Services is a United Way partner agency serving children and families of our community, and we're here to help. If you'd like to learn more about Family Services, please contact us via email, website, Facebook, or phone Mary Pickens. At Family Services, we change lives.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well on KSCJ. Here's Art Silva.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well. I'm Art Silva, and we're glad you're joining us here this morning. I'm with my friends from Family Services, Sandy and Brenda, and our topic this week is looking at faith and mental health. The first half of the show, we talked about, in general, what it is, the importance of mental health and faith, how it's broken down, that you can get help with a real strong faith for some mental wellness, and how that can be incorporated into your treatment. What we want to talk about now is some of the things that maybe there aren't answers to, that really kind of can stress you out. And this happens in everyday life. And what I'm going to pose to you ladies is the question of, why me? When things happen to people that aren't completely explained by science or whatever, and of course we got this big conflict with science and religion, but why me? How do we address that type in mental wellness treatment?
I think it's really important to understand that we can't always go to why me, because then you can get feeling like a victim or you can feel sorry for yourself. So what's more important is, what am I going to do in this situation? How am I going to deal with it? And I do a lot of explaining to people the role of genetics, our hereditary factors. We know that schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, ADHD, there are so many mental health disorders that have hereditary genetic factors. And we're finding more and more out. Some people are really anti talking about that. It's a secret. We don't disclose mental health to anybody. We don't get that support because there's so much shame based around. And I've worked with that, in different cultures and different faith systems. And I think also there's a stigma to somebody that takes medication. But we know that our neurotransmitters, you don't have to be disabled by depression or anxiety. You have to learn the behavioral, cognitive pieces to it. But it also, 50% can be the medication getting you stable enough to be able to do that work.
Brenda, your comments in that area?
I don't know if there's always an answer when you're asking yourself, why me? It's a matter of, how do I get through this? And sometimes faith is core for people of finding that peace and that hope and something to navigate or help you through that and give you a sense of calmness that I can do this. This is what I was given and this is what I have to deal with, and how do I manage that? And this is my core belief, and together we will venture through. And it's just hanging on to that. Sometimes there is no answer to the why me, or why is this happening, or what's going to go next. And it's just believing I'm going to be okay. I have my faith with me, and together we're strong.
Well, that sounds like quite a combination, and fall back on, I think, the hope that your faith brings you is critical. And I know we've gone through with COVID this past year, that we've lost. Our faith brought us, at least for me, that feeling of togetherness. When you're at service, you're at Mass for me, and And we've lost that. We've lost that sense of togetherness, and that to me was a big factor. I can still pray, I can still go to mass, but it's without the people, it's not the same. So when you get into a congregation, what are some of the topics that you mentioned? Depression, but what are some of the topics that are present right now in congregation? Grief, one of them. How do you deal with grief?
Grief is really a huge issue. People who have died because of COVID, people who have lost children. There's so many issues happening right now. The stress, the suicide rate among adolescents has just quadrupled during COVID. They're isolated. They can't do the things they want to do. We see that in the elderly who have become they're isolated. You're in your nursing home. You can't have visitors come in, and some of them, they've had to stay in the room. They can be in their doorways. There's so much in so many different ranges. Unfortunately, a lot of our churches are broadcasting either on television or you can watch services online. And I think that's been a huge help for people going through this. I know two churches, they met in the parking lot and you could turn on the radio station. And so you felt like you were in the community, but you weren't being exposed. You weren't spreading.
I'll tell you, that's we're going to look back on this, and I hope we gain some changes that are beneficial for us that we've learned from this. But I really kind of can't wait to get back to we need each other, and boy, your faith. This is a good time to test your faith. If you're doing a one-on-one deal without the crew and you're hanging in there and trying to be strong for everybody else, but where are you getting refueled? Where are you getting recharged? So sometimes I find that you settle for less because you're not getting as much as you had in the past in terms of reinforcement, positive reinforcement, but it really draws down on everything that you've done in your life regarding trying to get yourself strong. And if you had a good foundation and a good background, you're strong enough. And that helps you to help other people. Faith can make you bulletproof, I feel. That's just me at an early age. And you want to talk about how tough you are? It's a different kind of toughness. Mm-hmm. It's a different kind of toughness. Brenda, you want to add to any of this?
I think that toughness is almost like I'm a warrior, but I'm silent. It gives you that shield of I can handle anything through my faith, and it gives me a center of my armor and what we're going to do. And in relation to being part of a congregation or the faith-based community, it's all the same values and beliefs and reinforcement of together as one, we can get through this. But there has been that sense of loss of I haven't seen my pastor or I haven't seen someone else from my church and I miss them. And it's waiting for those moments to reconnect and finding the togetherness that we so often need and want.
The togetherness, that kind of comes back to full circle. We've talked about that. And I want to encourage right now, if we have any pastors out there that are looking for help, that would like to put a group together or start some conversation within your congregation about, hey, what are some of our needs here? Because as you can see, what we're talking about today is not talked about. We're sharing with you what we're seeing with adolescents. We're sharing with you what we're seeing with the elderly in isolation. So if in your congregation you think you'd like to put something together where we could talk about this, bring a forum together, please give us a call at Family Services, 293-4900. We want to help. We want to bring this, the best way to deal with this, bring it to the surface, look at all the positive things going for us that we can go forward with, and faith is one strong one, and it puts us back together again. And we start to live off of each other's strength, and that's all good. Sandy, anything you would like to contribute to that? How do we get back? Let me ask you that. How do we get back?
I think we have to be creative. My small group from church started meeting, we all wear masks, in a warehouse. So we sit, if we're couples or in our family group, and we have single people in our group too, and we just have a lot of distance between the chairs, and we wear masks. We're fortunate that one of our leaders in our group owns a warehouse. So we're able to do that, and he's opened it up to lots of groups within the church are using his warehouse. So that's one way. I think being connected by phone. And you're right. I watch church on online on Sunday mornings, and it is not the same as sitting with my husband in my living room. I sure cannot worship the same way I do in church.
I'm with you, and that's part of the challenge. Part of the challenge to the organizations trying to deliver the service. It's their best effort, but I think it just highlights the fact that our togetherness is our strength. And without that, I tell you this, I only see certain people in community when I saw them in church. And when you don't see them, I know, how are they? What are they doing? I care about that. I'm just, that's part of my family. Brenda?
Yeah, I think it's just another network of being together, and you miss people, and it's finding ways to still connect. We're not through this, but together we will get through it.
Well, that brings me to the next point. I don't think it's going to be throw the light switch on and we're back to normal.
No.
So I think we're going to have to go through, how do we do this? Like, I can imagine my first lunch with my friends. I got Kevin and Denny and have lunch with them. I hope we're not sitting there talking about, oh man, what'd you do last year? Or what? So how do we get back into this good feeling again? I think it's going to take a little bit of work.
Slow and easy. Take it a day at a time.
Yep.
That sounds good. Slow and easy. Kind of work it out as we get through. I see the light at the end of the tunnel right now, and it's really good. And this has been a great show, a great topic. I always try to end the show with a little bit of humor, because I think humor is good for our mental health also. So today's joke is about a game warden who catches an unlicensed fisherman in the act. And you're going to pay a big fine for all those fish in your bucket. But officer, I didn't catch these. These are my pet fish, and I just bring them here to swim. When they're done, they jump back into the bucket. Oh, really? I got to see this. If you can prove it, I'll let you go. Well, the fisherman empties the bucket into the lake and waits patiently. A few minutes go by, and nothing happens. Game warden says, so where are the fish? Fisherman says, what fish? Okay, we're going to give a shout out this week to Jan Dorr. She's been with us from day one. Jan, good morning to you. And a special shout out to the Siouxland Community Health. They have done an outstanding job.
Amazing.
They get behind them if they got a difficult problem, just controlled by their availability of product. But they are a class professional group of people down there that have done a fantastic job. So with that, we're going to give a shout out to the Siouxland Community Health. Thanks for what you're doing.